1 and Stage 2 engine chill has started. Engine hydraulics at pressure. And Stage 1 fuel is closed out. Falcon 9 is in self-align. Falcon 9 heaters closing out.
Dragon has transitioned to configure for terminal count.
Vehicle tanks pressing for strong back retract.
Strong back retract has started.
Stage 2 RP1 bleed. Stage 1 RP1 bleed. AFTS final setup started. MVAC igniter purges. Pogo bleed.
Dragon has transitioned to terminal count and is on internal power.
Stage 1 LOX load closed out. Vehicle is transitioning to internal power. Stage 2 LOX load is closed out. Propellant fills are complete.
Dragon is in auto idle.
Ground gas closeouts is starting.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Dragon is in countdown.
FTS is armed for launch.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Stage 1 tanks pressing for flight.
Hey there, Monkey Nation. If you get a chance, I'd love to introduce you to our brand new soap that we just brought into our quiver here. It's called Black Ops Prototype. It has activated charcoal in it. It's got a little bit of oak moss essential oils, and it is an amazing bar. It has a beautiful scent. You will love it. I promise you, you won't go wrong with this bad dude. So hop on over there to monkeywerxus.com. Head into the shop. It'll be under new arrivals. And this, like I said, pretty excited about this one. We'll talk to you soon. God bless. Monkey out. All right. Hey, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. This is going to be your SITREP. It is 6/26/2023, and it is just after 11 a.m. Central Time, coming to you from the Monkey Lounge, and things are really heating up here. I think we're going to hit around 109, 110 in the next day or two or three. So it's not going to be pretty. But today we're going to talk a little bit about a multitude of things, really. We're going to be talking about this coup, this failed coup attempt against Putin. Who was in on it, some of the details surrounding it. There's a lot of things going on. It was a pretty wild weekend in terms of that. So we'll get over to that. Let's do this. Let's jump on over here to the mini board. If you would, please hit that like and subscribe and bell for notification. It does indeed help the channel out tremendously. And yes, so let's get over here and take a look at this. We're sitting right now at 218. I've pulled 100 trainers out. So it is... Evidently, they like to fly when it's hot and clear. So it's, usually right in here, it's just chock full of trainers. So those are gone. Let's do this. I'm going to go down the list. I want to take a look and see how many. Now, I do have Air Force One currently up. He is airborne. And let me back that out because we'll look at it in general here in just a minute. But we've got the Pegasus aircraft. Those are going to be your 767 refuelers. That's the newest refueler in the Air Force fleet. And then let me go down. I'm seeing if we get any DC-10s in here. We got one DC-10, kind of old school. Not as many of those up as we usually see. And then the KC-135s, 15 of those currently. So let me just hit the button, and we'll just kind of let that marinate for a second to see where the traces go. Now, remember, in Skyglass, this thing is tracing every 5 seconds. It's absolutely insane what we can do with flight trackers these days. And so, you know, if you're out taking out maybe a pipeline or a gas line, you know, that data is actually tracked every 5 seconds. So it's kind of hard to dispute it, really. But anyway, not that anybody would do something like that, but crazier things have been done. All right, so this is going to be your KC-135s and all your other refuelers up right now. You'll see these long marshalling patterns like this one, for example. Let me kind of just tie into that. And what they do is they have kind of an area that they go to. They have to fly around. And while they're doing that little marshalling pattern, think of it as a gas station in the sky. You've got fighters that come in, hook up, get gas, and then you have other aircraft that do the same thing. Now, tomorrow, I believe it's tomorrow, there is a massive exercise going to be taking place. So if you see just a whole bunch of air refuelers in the sky, don't panic, because it is an exercise. They're celebrating some, I don't know, year event. I forget what it is, how many years it's been. But anyway, it's got a whole list of aircraft and how many B-52s and fighters by category that are all going to be doing this massive air refueling effort over the United States tomorrow. So again, if you see a bunch of air refuelers up, don't panic, okay? All right. Now, notice here you've got a lot of activity over Florida. As we get down into this area right there, that's kind of over central Florida, right over Orlando, sitting around 25,000 feet. This one's actually at 19.5, but it's probably on the climb out. See that green arrow right there? It's an indicator that it's increasing altitude. Typically on air refuelers, they level set around 26,000 feet. It's clear airspace, and they're allowed to do whatever they need to do there. So this here, notice we got them running down to the border again. I'm telling you, there's something going on here that we're not hearing about, all right? Now, I've got some other data we're going to look at when it comes to reconnaissance and intelligence gathering over California. You're going to want to pay close attention to this one. I am not going to go into the details as to what is behind it. If you're over on Patreon or members within YouTube, you already know because we've discussed it last week. But I'm not going to talk about it to the masses because it is something I think is sensitive in nature. So, but we're going to look at the flights associated with that because they are definitely looking for something, okay? People, whatever it may be. All right, let's back away from this. And let's do this. We've got the skies. Well, that just bounced on me here. Let me get to this side. There we go. All right. Now you can see what's going on across the United States. And if I bounce into category, we'll throw the tags on there too. It does just kind of clog things up a bit. And then we just kick it off to the side. One of the beautiful things that you can do only in this flight tracker app. It's the only one that does this. You can see the different altitudes and deviations. So who's the high flyers and who are not. So usually the high flyers are the guys going all the way, pretty good distances. Unless you're like a B-52, then maybe not. But okay, let me get us over here to, we're going to look at the watch list first. And you can see we've got the usual suspects. Some of them flying incognito, but these are all of those. 22 survey flights are up. Those are going to be mil-intel balloons. Kind of get in a little tighter here on our shot. More, for the most part, all of that group is going to be survey flights. Same thing, Florida is chock full of them. But then we've got some NOAA birds, and we've got that one, which is going to be Homeland Security flying as NA, which I thought was interesting. And let's see, they may round the horn there. We'll have to keep tabs on them. Maybe they go into Guantanamo Bay. Maybe they don't. They certainly are on the right trajectory for making that corner. Let me see while I'm looking at this. Yeah, it looks to be a priority air transport on my other screen. Now, that's going to be Air Force One that is up. Again, he's scheduled to go into Chicago. We're going to click on over there in just a minute when we start talking about flashbang. A lot of P-8s, P-3s, E-6s. That is a pretty big suite of military aircraft out over the water there near Jacksonville. And then we got our usual little border bird too. But that one is a survey flight on the border. And we're going to talk survey flights again here in a minute as well. That's survey flight. Got some NATO. Got an R-135 that's coming back. And then we've got this, which looks to be an intel bird, I believe. It is flying as NA, but that FAT-22, I think that may be military intel bird gathering. Notice they were looking very closely at Moldova, sorry, get it right after a couple times, in Odessa. They had some cruise missile stuff going on this weekend in Odessa, which was a little bit far from all the other action. All right, and then we've got some stuff up there going into, looks to be headed towards the U.S. That's a China bird. So we'll see where it goes. Probably going to go into Canada if I had to guess. We're going to Australia for a minute. not really anything going on down there this time of day. Okay. Now, over here to the intel side, notice, all right, I'm going to point out real quickly. I'm going to hit pause for a second. Notice where my mouse is, what I'm tracking. There were drones, intelligence birds, R-135s, all tracking the same areas up and down from Southern California, north of San Francisco. So just pay close attention. If you're in California and, you got 4th of July celebrations coming up, I would probably not go to them. Just me personally. Keep an eye on what's going on there. And if you got a scanner, you're probably in on stuff going on around you. But yeah, that right there, very, very interesting. And we got our normal stuff there near Tucson along the southern border of Arizona. Some eyes, that's going to be Brio 68, looking at stuff over DC. And then let's get over here to this side of the house. Again, just basically running up, into Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, down south of Kaliningrad, then doing some grabs there in Romania, right? And then look at this. We're going to look at Israel a little closer here in a minute, too. There's a lot of stuff going on there. But notice that we got a little bit of a intel gathered there in Amman, Jordan, etc., over Israel. So we'll take a gander here, and you're going to notice this is your survey flights. This is very, very busy and active. Let's see what my number was. I think it was 376 over 5 days. We didn't do the normal 3-day thing. So 376 over 5 days, which is an uptick. Notice here, they look like they're following some rivers. All right. And then we get over here, same thing, like highways, rivers. They doing a secondary look. I mean, they are covering every single element, everything. So if they were trying to lock something down, you're not going to come up a river or down a river because they're going to know, right, where everything is. It's pretty crazy. Get down to Florida, very, very active and busy. I almost feel like they're gathering data on just every asset in the United States because they're going to leverage it when everything goes broke. I don't know. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, still shaping that battlefield. Look at the altitude on this one. If you kind of kick it up compared to the others, it's a lot higher altitude. So they're getting eyes on stuff from a higher level. You get over here into the Netherlands, Belgium, again, continuing on surveys. I mean, how many different times and different looks do you have to grab to do this? It's almost like an aerial coordinate measuring machine, a CMM. Look at, out there right up to the border there of the water, very close to Kaliningrad. And then here, you've got the south of Milan area right there to the northern end of Italy. Pretty wild. Pretty wild. All right. And then you get over here, you got stuff still in Spain and Portugal. This one over the water. I don't know what could even be down in the water there, but they're certainly concerned about that whole entire area. And I'm going to show you some R135 that'll also support that. Again, I don't think that's a survey related, honestly. And then we get here. Notice there's some transitions into the Philippines. We'll start watching that to see if there's more surveys or if that's an intel bird. But look at that. Perth, still, very, very active. You get down south, Melbourne. South of Sydney, up towards Brisbane. And then, let me see, we don't have anything going on over here to New Zealand right now, which I guess they got everything they needed there. But, yeah, very, very, very active. All right. Now, then, of course, yeah, there's that little bit up there north into the Philippines. Okay, let's talk Ruskies, and then we'll start transitioning into some of the news cycles and things. We're going to also look at the drones, R135 as well. But just notice the Ruski stuff was very, very active over this weekend. This is the last 3 days. Putin was definitely on the move. We got this flight up to St. Petersburg, and we have a current flight right now that's actually leaving that I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was him headed towards China, but it may not be him. I don't know what his schedule is. I'd have to call somebody at the Wagner group to find out probably. But yeah, this is pretty interesting. Lots and lots of movements. I don't know the long trace lines there may or may not be real because you notice they go over the United States. But do notice here, if we get in close, one of those Russian flights actually went into right on the border near Victoria. That's just over the border of Washington State. And I mean just over the border, all right? Okay, and then here's the Baltic Sea. The drones, as we look, notice that one is kind of to the north out there off of Latvia and that little bay that goes in. And then we get down, let me back this up. This is going to be Q, probably the lower one. I think that's at the Hebron or whatever you say it, Israeli platform. But they're looking at stuff over the water. Let me back that up because, again, notice as you look at the area to the north of Tripoli, north of Libya, you've got Benghazi to the right there by my column, the blue column down at the bottom, and Tripoli over to the left. It's the same spot we've been watching the drone activity and the survey activity in there. Now we're going to see here in a minute the R-135 is also covering that same area. So that is interesting. Remember, they had lost some nuclear material it's probably been about 8 to 10 weeks ago, but they said they recovered it. But that area is very, very loose, so to speak. And, oh, by the way, it's the Ruskies that took over Benghazi when we punched out, and they basically are ingrained in Libya. They've got surface-to-air missile systems, S-300 and 400, in those areas at the airports. So that would be why we're probably getting very close eyes on those areas. Don't see anything in the news cycle, okay? And then to the north, just notice you got the spiral. That's going to be Q9s and Q4s. Going on the altitude, it's probably Q4 drones punching out over the Black Sea. It looks like we've got a slight uptick in reconnaissance effort from NATO and the U.S. over the Black Sea. And then let me zoom in on this piece. We're going to look at California. Remember, we were just looking at the intelligence flights over the same area. Notice they're running the same exact routes, okay? Pay attention to that route. Now, that's that piece. Let's get over to the R-135. We're going to close out on the California side of the house. But notice again, right up there into Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, looking very closely at Belarus because we know the Wagner group is in Belarus. And then we get over here, Moldova and Odessa. We had some missile strikes that took place over the weekend in that area and region. And then out over the Mediterranean, right there into the Persian Gulf. Notice they did a little look-see over Israel, probably not by accident. And then this, just notice the broken traces as they take off out of Japan, out of Okinawa. Let's get over to CONUS. Give this a second because it is the Superfly. And then just take a look at some of the stuff here. We'll look at California here at the very end, but notice you've got this trace looking at stuff on that same border where the fighters are going, and we've got stuff going right here. I don't know what they're looking at, but they got eyes on everything from probably beyond Shreveport past Fort Worth. And then this right here, same area trace lines as the drones and the Intel aircraft. So if you are in California, I will tell you, just stay frosty, okay? There is definitely something afoot there. They are highly concerned about something going on there. You can tell by the fact that they bring in R-135s and Q4 drones, as well as intelligence aircraft. They are getting every bit of data they can as they look for whatever it may be, okay? All right, let me see. I think, did we cover? Yeah, we did cover the Intel aircraft piece of this. Okay, so let's back up just a little bit, and we're going to go over here to the mini side of the house from the Intel side. Let's get over here to the news cycle. We're probably going to go a little long today because we're already 20 minutes in and we got a lot to cover. So let's get into it. So this happened in San Antonio over the weekend. The reason I'm bringing it up is, one, it's aircraft related, but It looks like a worker got sucked into a jet engine in San Antonio Airport. I won't go into the news details and everything. It was pretty gruesome. But the reason I'm pointing this out is because you may remember. Now, notice this guy's standing right here. He's got aircraft chalks in his hands, right? Just a ramp worker. This engine is not going. He would not be able to walk next to that engine. I will tell you from doing engine runs when I was aircraft mechanic in my day, if you had moisture on the ground, this thing has enough of a suction and vacuum. It will suck the headsets off your head, and it will also suck the water out of the ground, and you'll see a little tornado between the ground and going up into the engine where it is actually causing that same vacuum feel that you see with a big tornado out of the ground, just pulls it right into the engine, just sucks the moisture out of the ground. So this is important because you may remember when we were looking at this video right here. Now it's going to start with a little bit of noise, but let me tell you something. This is why we say this is all green screen and bogus, okay? Because one reason, you're not going to get that close in front of that engine. If you're wearing a turbine, anything, that engine has enough power to suck you right up in it, okay? You just stay away from them, especially, that's at idle. It has the ability to suck you in. But if that thing is taxiing, all of these people you see in the background, not a chance. It would be blowing them, literally, it'll blow you down. It'll knock you over if they were to go up on the power. Even the APU that's on the wheel well right there is enough to blow a turbine off somebody's head, okay? So I seriously suspect this is 100% all fake stuff, okay? How they did it, I don't know, but I just don't think, my opinion, as light as that front is bouncing and the way this thing's moving, you can't see into the cockpit. Everything's blacked out. Granted, it gets hot, but I'm just not buying it, man. But that case in point, the story that we just covered tells you you can get sucked into these engines very easily. Equipment does. These things are very powerful. And if you're behind them, I have seen 50-gallon barrels with stuff in them get blown like Lincoln logs from behind. So, it just kind of validates the story and what everybody has said in the past, that whole Afghan C-17 thing going down the runway was rubbish. Okay. All right. I want to point this out. This is a little concerning. China's looking all over the world for help in building their fighter aircraft, but they're also looking for pilots here in the United States to train their pilots. So, and it is happening. There are many, many, many pilots that have taken that job and gone over there and taught them how to basically fly. The United States Air Force is by far the best, and the Navy for that matter, the best pilots in the world. U.S. military, nothing like it, okay? And so when you see guys going over there and training them how to fly, with, they're learning our tactics and a bunch of other stuff. I know they already had a bunch of Brits that went over there and did that. To me, their citizenship should be revoked. There's no reason. You're training and abating the enemy, okay? Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk flashbang for a second here. It looks like he is... Now, this is interesting. I don't see him actually flying today on the schedule. He's got something about the Secretary of Commerce participating. I thought that was interesting that they did it in all caps. Don't know why, but he is not flying right now, although Air Force One is up right now. So they're probably doing some training, pilot training, or how to bug out quickly kind of thing. So we'll watch that piece of it. Let's look at the weather aspect. It'll also give us the TFRs. As you can see, it looks like he's headed into Chicago this week. If I click on this, it'll give us a date of when this is taking place. It's June 28th. So that's going to be in 2 days. He's headed over here to Chicago. And these boxes are the power outages as the heat ratchets up, you're going to see a lot more of this. Like I said, we are going to be experiencing here in North Dallas, all the way down San Antonio, etc., 110 Fahrenheit. So going to be record for sure. No rain, which is interesting. Nothing. Okay. Anyway, this is kind of gives you a general idea what he's up to, where he's going. All right. So let me back away from that, and we'll watch the calendar in the coming days. Here's one for you. Whistleblower, or whistleblowers, two of them actually, allege that Garland and the IRS commissioner lied under oath. So it looks like they're going to go after these guys for perjury. That would be something else to see. But yeah, evidently when it came to the IRS stuff, that aspect of it, we were talking about on Friday the fact that these guys directed the IRS to drop the charges down to a misdemeanor level and just look the other way. So it looks like they are going to be pulled back in under this whole probe of Hunter Biden. So there you have it. The corruption never seems to end, does it? Okay, let's talk Coup for a minute. So this guy, Prigozhin, if you know anything about him, here's a little picture of him. He was actually Putin's protege. Very, very close friends with Putin, and he's been very upset in the past because of what was going on with the Russians versus Ukraine. This group has neo-Nazi ties, okay? So pay attention, because what evidently unfolded was the fact that this guy, after a bombing campaign or something in the area where his guys were, decided to rally the troops, and they went 400 miles, I believe it is, with 25,000 troops headed toward Moscow. Okay, Putin bugged out. A bunch of people bugged out. They sent in a military helicopter to take them out, and the helicopter, they shot it down. I think there was actually 2 helicopters that got shot down, as well as a bunch of other aircraft, according to what I was seeing in the news cycle. I can't find it now because it has since gone away from our Ukraine map. But if we get over here and look at that Ukraine map, let me pull this up for you. You can see all the activity down in the southern side. If you look over the Black Sea and you'll see the blue jet icon, that is NATO, increased NATO activity over the Black Sea, probably while all this was going on. My understanding is, and I was listening to Glenn Beck this morning, that the Wagner Group was actually talking to the White House, okay? And that the White House actually knew this was being planned weeks ago. Let that sink in for a minute, because that tells you right there that this guy is highly entrenched. You notice the Ukrainian flag? No, that's a Russian flag on his head. Sorry. I thought maybe, and I'm on the wrong screen. But nonetheless, let's talk this one for a minute over here. The little camp thing you see, the triangle at the up in the very left top of your screen, on the left side, that is basically a location, a camp that's being set up for the Wagner Group. They said there were about 8,000 soldiers that are actually going to be in that little tent city. We'll pay close attention to that piece too, because notice that the location is north of Kiev. Sorry, so it is located in Belarus. And notice, if you look just right up above my head here, you'll see the 2 brown guns. That is also some Wagner troops that are located there that are basically just holding the ground, I guess, for that location. But they were on the march. They stopped about 120 miles, my understanding is, outside of Moscow. The leader, this guy, basically, he is, and this is the flag I was talking about here on his hat, but he has basically taken refuge in Belarus and is a wanted man. All right. Even though they came to some kind of peace agreement, that guy right there is going to probably fall out of a window here in the coming weeks. All right. So anyway, kind of go through some of it. You can see all the stuff that was captured, vehicles en route, these convoys. There's another one there. And stuff blocking the road, using dump trucks to block the road, headed to Moscow. You can see them setting up these weapon fortification locations on the highway, and that leads to Moscow. And I don't know what that one's all about, but we can go down a little further. It was actually getting a little crazy there. They had a lot of equipment and stuff headed that way. And then these were people actually leaving the city, getting on trains and getting out of Dodge. So yeah, this is, it was pretty real. A lot of videos capturing it all. So we'll continue to monitor it, but looks like it was a failed attempt. And I would imagine this guy right here is, the clock is probably ticking on him. I would not want to be him. I will say that. And same thing for his group, because I think the Russian military, especially the elite, are probably going to end up going after these guys. Now, my understanding also is that Russia was already looking at replacing the Wagner group because the fact that they are talking to the White House, and they probably knew that, would tell you that the fact that they tried a coup attempt would tell you that these guys are probably tied in very closely with the deep state in Ukraine. And anyway, we'll just keep our eye on this whole situation because it's definitely fluid. And we'll report when the next big event happens with this gentleman, okay? All right, let's take a look at the Star Wars map. As you can see, United States, as always, just getting barraged. Looks like UK and Germany, Brazil are all kind of sharing in the pain today. But coming right into the central hub, very, very active. I imagine this is going to do nothing but increase over time as we get closer and closer to what looks to be a big war. All right. All right. Let's get rid of ForeFlight and see, is it going to make me log in? Let me back up a little bit. Had some big boxes there over the area. Let me see if it's going to let me. Yeah, sometimes it just does not want to load the NOTAMs. I'll keep backing up and see if it changes. Yeah, it does not appear to do so. So I'll have to come back to it. It's weird. I got nothing over Europe, but then I get over here in the United States, and you can see all the TFRs and NOTAMs here. But let me see if something has turned off on my list. We got the turbulence, which probably just going to be a little bumpy. Looks like over Colorado, New Mexico on the global turbulence side. NOTAMs, let me turn them off and on. Yeah, they're not cycling right now. So something going on with the website. But, well, here we go. Actually, they look like they did cycle. So still have the danger areas. Remember, this is the area off the coast of Southern California that we see some of that reconnaissance and Q4 and Intel type aircraft out here running routes. A lot of mil exercises starting to take shape right now into probably July, maybe late July. So if you start to see, an uptick on things going through the U.S. on train and, vehicles being seen on the roads, I would just not panic. Just know that a lot of the guards and the military are doing their 2-week summer stuff right now. Okay. All right. Look, all right, now it's populating. So it looks like we've got stuff going here to the north of Scotland, as always. Things here to the south of Denmark, out over the water. Remember, the Air Defender 23 exercise has ended. So all of those aircraft are going to be coming back to the United States if they haven't already. That was 3 days ago. And then, let's see, we got a lot of things happening out here in the Atlantic, north of Spain, to the west of France. Big box over Cyprus, out here over the water, over the Mediterranean, as it relates to Israel. Now, we'll look closer at Israel here in just a minute, but they, again, have a lot of things going on. And then, of course, all of this running up. Notice that it looks like there is something going on here all the way down the border of Ukraine. So that's this whole box is kind of bled into here. They are not related in terms of this versus that, but nonetheless, it's a trigger exercise, I guess. Okay, military, I don't know what, male. Okay, so manned, this is how they've said it. So military manned and unmanned aerial vehicle flights. I guess that's what that means. Mail and hail, whatever. All right. Sure. Probably something just over our heads. We don't even know it. It may actually mean something acronym-wise. Okay. Check this out. Now, read this box. This says, from June 14th to September 15th, due to the crisis situation in Ukraine, until further notice, the following no planning zones are introduced. We're going to have to watch the airports over here in this area, especially RZE, to see if they start to limit the flights going in and out. But it looks like we've gone to the next level in terms of heightened situational awareness. All right. Okay. Heightened status, for that matter. Yeah, I imagine all this is tied to that as well. Okay. Now, this one, Erdogan backs Putin as Turkey offers to help Russia. This is important because keep in mind that as all of this stuff goes down with the Wagner Group, remember, Turkey is part of NATO. And so if he starts to align himself with Russia, he will probably get ousted out of NATO because now he's basically courting both enemies. They already knew he was. This is no secret. There is a trifecta going on, or a trilateral agreement, however you want to say it, between Iran, Russia, and Turkey. They're all set up shop in Syria. We'll look at that closer here when we look at what's going on over in that general region. But let me see, as we look at a couple things, let me show you what's going on in that general region, right? We've got this Wagner Group thing happening. I will show you, check out the State Department, okay? This is the last 5 days. Notice where the State Department has been going, back and forth from Baghdad over into Amman, Jordan, and then up to the north border there towards Iran. The reason that is important is because Russia has just put together an agreement with I think the Shiites in Iraq. All right. And so the fact that our State Department is in there tells you that Russia's on the move. They are starting to align things in a lot of different places: Egypt, Libya, Iraq, Saudi Arabia. Right. And so pay close attention to that as we kind of talk about the things that are happening over there. Also, I did want to point out, let me see if I can find it real fast, some data on the Wagner Group as we look at, I'll put this here just for a minute. We're going to park it on that side of it. But let me read this about the Wagner Group, okay? This guy Prigozhin, he is the owner of Russia's Wagner paramilitary group, okay? I pronounce it Wagner. The W is really a V. It's German. It has Germanian roots, okay? That's where that surname comes from. So it is no shocker. They're aligned with the deep state. They have a controversial background. It says, after serving a prison sentence for assault, robbery, and fraud, this guy, Prigozhin, started a catering business called Concord Catering, which received contracts from the Russian government. Money laundered through his company was used to establish Wagner, a state-backed paramilitary cartel with a few hundred former Russian soldiers. Wagner has been accused of committing war crimes, including massacres, rapes, and resource exploitation. The group operates globally. Remember that, globally. Okay. There's a reason why we were talking about some of the things happening in California. Okay. And its activities are connected to 64 front companies linked to the Kremlin. Wagner Group has clashed with the U.S. forces in Syria and suffered heavy casualties in Ukraine. Prigozhin also oversees the Internet Research Agency, accused of interfering in 2016 U.S. election. All right, there's a little bit of data point for you on the Wagner Group, what this guy has been up to. But just pay close attention, all right? All right, check this out. Russian strikes kill 11 rebel-held Syria in rebel-held Syria. So was this some of the Wagner guys? I don't know, but this is important. Remember, we just deployed the F-22s into Syria just a few weeks ago, right? U.S. Air Force has F-22s stationed right there. And I would imagine that this area is going to get more active as we go forward. Let's talk Israel for a second, because this is where it gets a little interesting. Let me drop down here on to my scene. This is the current map and all the things going on in Israel. But notice in the occupied West Bank or ancient Samaria, notice all of the little upside down smiley faces, right? Those are people that have been taken out by the Israeli Special Forces guys, not IDF, but ISF. And a lot of stuff going on within that region. Remember, on the other side of the border into Jordan, which is just right here, as my hand gets cut off, we have had the U.S. in there training, I guess, I don't know if you want to call them rebels or whatever it is, from Palestine to go back into the area. So we're up to something in Amman, Jordan, okay? And notice I just showed you the State Department in and out of Amman, okay? So pay attention to that area. That's definitely going to be one that we have to very, very closely monitor. All right. Okay, let's get back over here. Now, we talked about these rebels getting knocked out. Keeping this one, just pay close attention, because this is going to change the dynamics in Ukraine when they start to get engaged. But remember, we started out, we're not going to give them fighters. And then all of a sudden, we're giving them some of the junk fighters and old aircraft. But then somebody decided it would be a good idea to give these guys F-16s. They've been training their fighters in the United States and Arizona, and then they've also been training them in Denmark as well as the UK on how to fly F-16s, all right? Now, these things are going to probably, even though they are a far superior aircraft to the Russian things, it comes down to the pilots, and that takes time in the seat, right? You don't just throw some guys in over a long weekend and teach them how to fly the aircraft, okay? You will probably see a lot of these things getting shot down, all right? But Denmark's government has basically said Monday that the training of Ukrainian pilots on F-16s has started, and the retirement of the Scandinavian country fleet of aging U.S. fighters has been moved up 2 years. So they are basically getting rid of the F-16s, giving them to Ukraine and Denmark, and it looks like they are going to get F-35s as a replacement in 2025. Good upgrade for Denmark. But anyway. All right. Now this one, pay again, when you start to see us engaging in Syria, and when you see us trying to renegotiate terms and things going on in Baghdad, this Iranian nuclear inventory surges amid enriched uranium probe is hitting the headline, which is not good. They're saying that basically Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium swelled to a record in the last 3 months. Okay. And remember, we're over here negotiating or trying to negotiate deals. Why? All at the same time, we are taking away the sanctions. We gave them back their missile producing company, removed that sanction against them. That came under Biden about a year ago. And we continue to just kind of loosen the laces on this whole deal. But it's saying here now that the uranium particles have been enriched to a 84% purity, and that was detected at the end of January. Telling you, this will be, I don't know who's holding Israel back, but for some reason, they are not doing anything, which is very concerning. Okay, let's go over here and take a look at the airports. I've been talking a lot about aircraft and stuff flying around. Looks like the only thing inbound right now is an Atlas Air 767 coming in from Indianapolis. I don't see it on the outbound schedule yet, but just some regular aircraft in and out of Biggs Army Airfield. Moving on to Dover. One Atlas Air C-17. So it looks like things have slowed down a little bit. This Atlas Air is coming in from JFK. You got a Thunderbird 14 C-17 coming in from Cherry Capital, Traverse City, Michigan. I don't know if that's tied to U.S. Air Force. It may be. That could be their C-17. I haven't ever seen that call sign before. So that probably an air show coming up for 4th of July or something. But got a camber flight rolling to RZE Direct Poland 747, probably carrying a lot of equipment. if I had to guess. Replenning that 20% or 25% equipment that has already been lost. Or, hey, you know, we just found all this extra money. We're going to just add to your quiver and send a whole bunch of stuff over to you. Yeah. All right. Here is your U.S. Transportation Camber flights. So these guys, again, under the U.S. Transportation Command, 767 coming out of Rota, and then this one coming out of Bahrain. And MD-11 767-300 probably has troops. Could be bringing them back to the U.S. Could be a rotation. And this is going to be Ramstein and nothing. Ramstein, nothing. The boys there are very, very light today. Pretty unusual. All right, this is the board we're going to watch. This is RZE Poland. Again, first time watching. This is Poland over here. This is the forward operating base. So if things go hot in a war, they'll be fed out of this preliminary on the initial push. And this is Ukraine. Okay. All of this area right now is covered up in a danger box, right? That's where we just looked, that whole extension. Due to the escalation going on in Ukraine and Russia, probably tied to the coup attempt. All right, look what we've got coming in, though. We got a 747, only one coming out of Dover. All right, we just saw that on the board. It is going to be leaving from there as an Atlas flight, no name on it, so it could be empty as it leaves. That's going to be NATO. Looks to be headed up to Cologne. And as I just go down the list here, that's it. Man, getting really light in RZE Poland, which means everything we got and everything we need is there. Probably only stuff we see right now is replenishment. Okay, air cargo or national cargo. All 747s. Just look where they're coming out of. South America down to Southern California. And notice this one coming out of Spain, headed up to Anchorage, Alaska. All right. And where we got these coming out of? Some of these I can't even see here. Yeah, I don't know where Chita is. Chita Achi, and Madrid. Let's see, Sao Paulo. Okay, that's the one we just looked at. So, and then this one coming out of the Asian Pacific, headed up here to Anchorage. Again, 747-400s, probably moving equipment. You know, the big hunks and chunks. They also carry things like, you know, the stuff that goes boom. All right. Artillery. Okay. Again, Western Global coming out of Anchorage, headed to Los Angeles. Not sure why they're doing a little bit of, it looks to be some build-up stuff here. We've seen quite a few flights in and out of Los Angeles, California, so I don't know what that's all about, but yeah, keep an eye on it. But that has been more frequent lately. Omni, Manchester over to Toronto, then Guam to Fort Worth, Perot Field. So you can see the flights there. But yeah, coming out of Manchester, England. So that actually could be, they could be carrying some Canadians. To land on that side of the border is kind of unusual. So that could be a rotation of bringing some Canadians over, or bringing them back, right? Nothing on the board for NATO. We'll click on over to the Ruskies, or sorry, not the Ruskies, the Brits. And I got 4 of them on the docket. Looks like one's headed down to Nellis, maybe Las Vegas from England, and then this one's getting airborne. It's at 31,000 feet, 517 miles an hour, and it maybe headed into Crete, or sorry, Cyprus. It's Cyprus over here. Crete's over the other direction here, and that one looks to me maybe coming out of Cyprus. So it looks like a little bit of a flip flop with some aircraft. Okay, let's take a look at what's going on with our Swift Air and feeding the Amazon machine. It looks like we've got some stuff coming across interior of the country. Now, remember, too, they do support the hockey teams, but I don't know if anything's going on with that right now. And then, of course, we've got these flights that look to be headed. Well, this one's coming out of, looks like it's, let's go down and see where that is coming out of. Valley, so Columbus, Georgia, all right? It's a Valley That could be a little worker thing as well, right? Bringing some folks up to do some Amazon plant warehouse work. The Alexandria one, that one right there, that's definitely deporting people out of the country. Guys that didn't make the cut. All right. We did start to track these. I don't ever catch them. So what I am doing is basically collecting them in my watch list, and we'll just show it through that. But this is the Airborne Federal State Budgetary Organization for Russia, or the Research and Test Cosmonaut Training Center. So SITREP is what they call it. But they've got a couple airplanes. They were flying around this whole area as this Coup stuff was going down. Don't know what they do, where they are, kind of like our NASA, I guess. But we'll just, we'll tag them when they're in there and talk about them a little bit. So, okay. Well, like I said, I knew I was going to go long today. We just had a lot of stuff to cover. Let me just make sure I didn't forget anything. Yep, I think we're good. So you guys keep that powder dry, stay frosty, and we'll be back on Wednesday with what's going on the latest, see if there's any new developments with the Wagner Group. And that's it. You guys, we'll talk soon. God bless. Monkey out. Thanks for watching, folks. Check out the latest gear and products over at monkeywerxus.com.